everyone. We are here to talk about the customer requested enhancements that are going to be included in 15.9.2. As part of this section, we will be covering 5 specific customer enhancements that were asked through various channels. These 5 enhancements are the ability to hide inactive departments from the OBS and department lookups. This came through our customer innovation panel. The second one is separate delete from edit permission. This is another one that came from our customer innovation panel. The third one is the ability to update multiple instance data all at the same time. Fourth is the link module in IDEA, and the last is the display of API alias in the field level security grid. Why is this important? So we, as part of the product management team, run various channels to get in touch with our customers. These different programs include the product management office hours, which runs weekly, the monthly roadmap review, as well as a monthly design review. During several of these sessions, customers come and discuss with us the various requirements. And then during the customer innovation panel, they present their functional and enhancements they want to include in the product. Out of those, the 2 specific ones that were voted and one as part of the monthly innovation call was the ability to hide inactive departments. And the second was the ability to separate delete functions, delete permissions from the edit permission. So let's take each one of these and discuss them individually. The very first one is the hide inactive departments. So as part of 15.9.2, we have introduced a new active flag in the department object. This flag will now allow you to hide those inactive departments from the following lookups: the work with department lookup, department OBS, department resource OBS, staffing workspace, and staff OBS unit in project staff. This flag only controls how the lookup will display or not display the department. It does not impact any other department functionality. We have also updated the department ZOG to include this new active flag. So you have the option to activate or deactivate a department using ZOG. The deactivated department will still be displayed in the Modern UX or Classic where they were previously populated, so that you can go ahead and then change that data. However, once you have a deactivated department, then you cannot set that department into any other instance where they were not already previously set. No other impact will happen to the department functionality as part of this flag. The next item is the separate delete permission from the edit permission. This is new in 15.9.2. In the past, customers that had edit permission would be able to edit the object instance as well as be able to delete it. Starting 15.9.2, we have finally separated the 2 permissions, and moving forward, we will continue to do so where you will have edit permissions to edit the data and delete permission to be able to delete it. Without having the delete right, you will not be able to delete the object instance. Every object will now, moving forward, will have the following new delete rights: the global delete all, OBS delete, and instance delete that can be assigned to the resources or to the resource group. We have also added the option to be able to select instances and then click on either delete or mark for deletion, depending on the investment type. Now users will need explicit delete access right to be able to delete the object instance. Note, in order for us to not have an impact on existing customers upgrading, We have made sure that wherever a resource had an edit right, they will also be granted the delete right, and it'll be up to the administrators then to go in and selectively remove those delete rights where they want to. This way, there is zero impact to our customers after an upgrade, and they have the full functionality to control those rights moving forward. Granting a user delete right will not give them the permission to view or edit. So just because somebody got a delete right, they will still need view or view or edit in order for them to see or make changes to an existing object instance. The multi-select mark for deletion button will appear on the project ID or custom investment type if the user has delete access right. The user will also need edit access right for specific instance to flag it for deletion. For example, in a project, just because I see I can select the project instances and I can see the mark for deletion does not mean I can set that mark for deletion flag for any project object unless I have that edit right. So I shouldn't be just able to delete any object instance. Next, we talk about the bulk edit. In 15.9.2, based on customer feedback, we are now introducing the new bulk edit, which essentially allows the users to populate the same data across multiple object instances at the same time. The bulk edit is supported in the modern UX where common grid component is used. Edit rights to the object instance are still required to be able to edit the data of the selected object. Selecting object instance will display the edit button in the grid view of that object. And we will support all fields except attachment. So you cannot modify an attachment field in the bulk edit. You will just be able to see it. The way the bulk edit works is once you've selected the object instance and you click on the edit button, a new edit modal will be displayed on top. This edit modal is broken into two parts. The first top part is the editing area. The layout for this will be exactly the same as what the customer had in their grid layout for that object instance. So whatever columns they had selected, exactly the same set of columns will be displayed right here. In this area each field will be editable, provided the field is allowed to be modified. Whatever data is populated for that field, the same data will then be displayed in the preview changes, which is the second half of this model. So in the second half of the model, all these selected instances will be displayed. And as you make changes in the top editing area, those changes are reflected in the preview area at the same time. However, the changes are not saved till the user clicks on the save button. So the preview is the ability for you to be able to see how the changes will reflect. And once you are satisfied, you can click on save, or if you're not, you can click on cancel and go back without making any changes to the data. Next, we've introduced the link module in the idea object. This was something that existed in other object types, and now we have the links module in the idea object. The link module can be configured using the blueprint. The standard blueprint will automatically add the links module, and customers can update their blueprints to add or remove the link module. And the last item that's included in here is the attribute API alias field is now available in the field level security grid. Customers that wanted for more information about the attribute when enabling a field level security will be able to do so based on their API attributes. error messages in the modern UX would display the API attribute ID, which the admins would have to then go back in the studio in the past to find which specific attribute it was complaining about. Now they can come into the attributes in the modern UX and be able to view and find which specific attribute the error is being displayed. Attributes only show the attribute ID, which is not the same as the API ID assigned to the attributes. So what that means is when in the past, when you would come to the attribute section, we used to show the attribute name and we used to show the attribute ID. This attribute ID was really your database column name, which is defined in the studio. This is not always the same as the API attribute ID, which is the ID you would assign to the REST API. In the modern UX, any error messages that used to be displayed would display the API attribute ID, and that's where it would be confusing for the end users or the admin as to which specific field was either secured or the error was thrown. So now you can see that based on the API attribute ID. All right, with that, let's get into the demonstration for each one of these 5 functionalities. So here I am in 1592. I am logged in as an administrator, and I'm going to first look at the ability to hide my departments. So for that, I'm going to go into the studio. So in the Classic, I'm going to go in and I'm going to first look at my object, which is my department object. And the first thing I would see is that in my department object, here is my new out-of-the-box attribute called active. This is the flag that I can set for my individual departments to activate or deactivate a department. The next thing I'm going to see is the views. So after an upgrade, this new flag is not set in any one of the out-of-the-box views. So in order to make sure if you want to activate or deactivate a department, you want to go into the views and then include it in either your edit view or include it in your list view. So in this case, I'm first seeing my edit view where I've added the active flag in the edit view or in the general section of my edit view. And the next, I'm going to see that I've also included this in my list view. So there's the active flag, which is the first one. So now let's go look at my department itself. So here I have a few set of departments. At the moment, all of them are active. So we can now go into my list of projects. And in my list of projects, I am going to filter down for just the marketing projects for the moment. So I'm going to add department as and I'm going to see just the digital media and print. These are the 3 departments within my marketing. And that should bring up a list of, here are all my projects that the marketing is working on. And I can see the departments that have been populated. Let's also look at, so at this point, when I look at it, I can see all the departments that I can assign for any one of these, and print, digital, they're all available. I'm going to go inside the online and offline market. And in here, I'm going to then look at my staff and look at the staff OBS. Which also has the same departments. Business analyst has the print and the other ones have other resources. Now let's go ahead and deactivate one of those departments. I'm going to deactivate the print. I no longer want to work on any print marketing projects. So I'm just going to go ahead and deactivate this department, which is as simple as just editing it from right here. And once I've done that, I'm going to go back into my project list view again. The first thing you will notice is that I've deactivated the print, but the project where this was populated, that data is still displayed. And that again is done intentionally because we just didn't want the data to disappear from the list view. For the instance where this is pre-populated, obviously because the data was pre-populated, I still have that option. So I can either change it to any other department or just leave it. However, for the other instances where this was not previously populated, if I now go look at it, the print department is no longer available for me to set. Let's do the same for our staffing. So when I go inside, again, the print, the business analyst had the print OBS. If I go inside, I can see that, I can leave that, whereas I can see the other ones too. But if I was to go for the project manager, I no longer see print as the marketing one that I can select. So it removes it from the lookup. All right. And just to also confirm, these changes will be reflected in the Modern UX and the Classic. So right here, as you can see, there is a department. If I go look at this project in the Classic UI, you will see the same behavior. So right here, I'm looking at the department OBS. If I filter it, it will be available, or it was displayed, but here I can only see the media. I do not see the print. All right. The next I wanted to show is the delete permission. So starting 15.9.2, now we have separated the delete permission. So I'm going to first show you the list of all the delete permissions. And an easy way to see that is if I go into my administration, I can go into the license information. And here, if I expand and the rights by license type and just search for delete, I get the list of all the different delete permissions, whether it's a delete all or individual delete for all my investment types are all listed right here. So this is one easy way for me to find out all the delete permissions that is available. I can look at just specific to project if I want to. And these are the project delete permissions, whether it's just for the project or for the project risk issues and changes. If I had any sub-objects, those will be listed. Same I can look at for my custom investment type. So here are the delete rights that I can easily assign to my end users. To see how it functions, I'll have three scenarios that I will cover. The first is I am a user that has full create, edit, and read write to roadmaps. So at this point, I can just come into roadmap. I can create a new roadmap. Just have Cheryl Amos do that. And let's have a start period of 2021. So I am able to create it. I can go inside this roadmap. I have the full right to add instances or roadmap items. And I can go back out and I can then delete my demo 123 because I have that full right. Now let's log in as a user that only has view and edit right to roadmap. So I'm going to log out as myself, and I'm going to log in as a user that only has view and edit rights to roadmaps. I'm going to go into roadmaps. And let's look at the mobile plan roadmap where I can go in, I can see the different roadmap items as well as I can add a new row. So let's just create a new roadmap item. Okay, and once I've done so, I can, if I want to now just want to see if I can delete it, I can try to delete this and it'll display me an error saying that what you're trying to delete, you no longer have that access. So here I have right to edit it, but I do not have the right to delete it. All right, let's take a third scenario where I'm going to log in as my financial admin that has the right to create funding entry. They can create and delete the funding entry, which would be a sub-object to my financial object. So right here, I've logged in as a financial person. So as a financial manager, I can go into my funding source. I can see the various funding source that I have. I can go inside any specific funding source, and there is a sub-object to it where I can define the specific funding, which is the specific amount coming in and going out. And let's just expand it for a better viewing purpose. Right here, I can create a new entry. And let's say I'm going to create a new entry for 2021, and let's do for June another 2 million. And once I've done so, I can either close out of it or I decide, well, maybe that is the wrong amount. I can go ahead and just delete that. And I deleted that entry because I have that right. And I can close out of it. So I have full read, write, edit to the sub-object, in this case, funding. But if I go back and try to delete the research program itself, I will get an error message that I do not have the right. So I can control if I can delete or not delete specific object types, as well as control its sub-objects. All right. Next, we are going to look at the multi-select edit. So this is the ability for me to be able to modify the data across multiple object instance at a single time. So I'm going to, in this case, again, have two different cases that I'm going to run. The first one is I'm going to go into project, and I can look at my project. Let's look at it via default view. When I look at my project, I see that there is a same project manager that's assigned to multiple projects. I can essentially select Paul Berg's projects across, and I can even, if I had multiple pages, I could go across multiple pages and continue to select those object instances. So in this case, I selected object instances from different parts on the same page. And now I get this edit button. Because I selected object instances, I get this new edit button, which upon clicking, I get the new bulk edit modal. Here on top, I see the make changes section is all editable fields where I can populate the data. The layout of this is exactly the same as what I had in my view, which again, let's look at it. Let's cancel out of here and you'll see the columns that I have selected right here, which is the start, finish, plan, department, location. These are all the columns that I've selected. So exactly the same columns are available to me in the edit mode, in the bulk edit modal, which is the start, finish, plan, cost, department, location, plan, benefit. So these are all right here. And the three investments that I selected are also listed right here. Now, if I want to change saying that, well, Paul Burks is no longer going to be managing this project, I can change that to Joyce. As soon as I change that to Joyce in the make changes, notice that the preview section, the changes are reflected right away. These changes at this point have not been saved to these object instances, and that will not happen till I click on the save button right here. So let's go ahead and do that. And once I've made that change, you'll see for those three, the changes will be applied. So there's Joyce selected right there. So those changes are applied. Next, let's look at in the roadmap where I can modify, again, different data using my roadmap. So I'm going to go into my 2021 annual planning. And when I come in here, I am in my grid view. I can see my different targets. I can see what is over and under. And upon analyzing it, I see that I'm obviously over capacity and my cost is also over. And the benefit seems to be green, but I'm not too sure. So let's select or review this data right here based on what's there. And upon review, I realized that I need to really change the benefit for three of these instances. So I'm going to change the benefit for my automated security. I'm going to change the benefit for client services, and I'm going to change the benefit for my credit card security. So again, in here, because roadmap is using the common grid, upon selecting, I get the new edit option. Clicking that gives me the bulk edit. Here I can now say that, well, I'm just not even going to work on these. I'm going to take them out of my plan, and I am going to, I look at it and I feel that the benefit is too high for some of these. This benefit should be lower, so I can just go ahead and edit the individual benefit to say, well, this is just really 100K. As soon as I make that change, so here I have modified a regular lookup value, and I'm modifying a TSV value, the individual period of a TSV value. I can click on save, and the data will be changed and reflected, and you would see that my targets getting updated based on those new changes. The three fields are still selected. They've moved to the not in plan, and their values have then been removed or reduced. The third scenario where I want to show is I'm going to modify TSV values where instead of modifying the individual time period, I'm going to modify the total itself. So in this case, I'm going to go to my mobile plan. And again, I'm in my grid view. I can look at my different plans. I review my data, and I see that two of these, which is the Intune support and MDM support for mobile, two of these don't really have any data specified for either my time period that I'm looking at or my total values. I also see that these two are running across different time frames. The Intune is running from May to September, while as the mobile is running from March to July. I know that both of these, the cost is going to be 100,000, and I can go and break that 100,000 manually calculating for my individual time period, or I could now just select these two, click on my edit button, and using this, I can say, my operating cost for both of these is going to be 100,000. So you can see the value is now updated right here. The timeframes are still the same. Once I click on save, what's going to happen is 100,000 operating cost will be populated under total as expected. But if I now scroll to the right, you will see that for the different months, the cost have been split accordingly across the different time periods. And so if I scroll more, for the second project, it starts from May onwards. So that's right there. See, the data is now spread across based on just populating the total. So we handle both either populating individual data, or we handle as well as the updating the totals data. Next, let's talk about the links in IDEA. So for this, we are first going to go in and look at the blueprint. And within the blueprint, so in the admin section, I'm going to find my idea blueprint. I have the out of the box idea that came in, which I look at it and I can go into the modules, and you can see that the links module is added to the standard blueprint. I have a copy of that, which is what I've set as my default. When I go in there and I go to the modules, I have my link module right here. If I go into edit, I have the option to remove this if I want to from my blueprint. I'm just going to leave it as is, and let's go look at the ideas itself and see where the module will appear. So let's go into the one of the idea called security enhancements. And you can see there is my links module. When I go in there, the links that have been defined are available to me. I can click on any one of these links and it'll open that up in the new tab. All right. The last one that I want to demo is the API attribute ID. So if I go into the admin again, I go to attributes. Looking at the attributes, now you can see that I have my attribute name, attribute ID, which is the database column name, and then my API attribute ID, which is the same as the REST API attribute ID that I defined. So you have this new column that is available. By default, after upgrade, this column is not added to your list of columns, but you can easily add it by going into the column picker. That concludes the demo I wanted to show for the 5 different custom enhancements request.